Good morning, friends. The Sage here once again. Today, I want to do a video about Dr. Eliud Kipchoge, the marathon specialist from Kenya. And I want to use the iNews 159 race as a point of reference. Now, sometimes in the year 2019, I was not in a very good place. And that's a story for another day. However, Dr. Eliud Kipchoge attempted to run the marathon under sub 2 hours, and he indeed managed to do that in Austria, Vienna. Now, out of it, I have been able to watch that race severally, and I have come out with a model that has helped me understand why Kipchoge does this effortlessly. Number one is the issue of talent. Now, talent has become the new asset of production, especially for the sub-Saharan Africa. Talent is the new form of ideation and innovation. If you have talent, is equals to money. People need to mine and excavate the talents that are in them to be able to have alternative forms of livelihoods and wealth creation. But apart from talent, something else that is so unique about Dr. Eliud Kipchoge is a belief in value systems. Every time you watch his videos, you watch him on media or on TV, he's always talking about the aspects of hard work, the aspects of sacrifice, the aspects of value systems that enable him to get the right hygiene for him to train better and get the results that he wants. However, number three out of it that I've learned as a mid-level manager is the aspect of training and building one's capacity to be able to deliver the talent that is in them. Now, before the iNews 159, Kipchoge retreated back to Eldoret, which is a high altitude area, to train. He was training to become better, to build his reservoirs and every cylinder of the gases within his lungs to be able to run a sub 2 hours. Remember, he's the first human ever to run under sub 2 hours for a marathon. So training is an aspect that we must always invest in as managers, as vision holders, as talented people. You might have a talent, but if you don't add a value proposition on it through training and building your capacity, that talent is as well as useless to you. Now, apart from that, he has the talent, he trains, he has value systems. He also believes in setting of targets. The target in this particular race was to run sub 2 hours. And everything was done, arranged, and strategized around winning the race under 2 hours. And indeed, he actually ran for 1 hour 59 minutes. That was a milestone never ever witnessed before. It's important for us to set targets as human beings and to work towards achieving those targets. The how to part of process guideline of how to make a target and work towards it is a video we can actually talk about in some other episodes that are coming. But remember, for you to get to those targets and achieve or actualize your vision, there's the issue of incentives and motivations. Do you remember Isuzu company offering Dr. Kipchoge D-Max truck to him? Why in the first place did they offer that truck to him? It was a source of incentive and a motivation. However, they also wanted to associate with him because one, that D-Max is meant for that hard terrain in upcountry. It's supposed to be serving farmers. They targeted him. This is what we call targeted advertisement. It signified resilience. It signified tenacity. It associated with him as a resilient marathoner, but it was supposed to incentivize him to achieve the sub 2 hours in Vienna. But aside from that, the CEO of iNews, who is Ratcliffe, actually offered a chartered plane all the way from Austria to come and just pick Dr. Eliud Kipchoge and his family and his team of trainers to go to Austria and work or rest. How an incentive can turn around a situation. For all those things will always bring a value of accountability to an individual who is participating in these races. You want to sit and tell yourself that indeed, if all these guys have invested in me like this, I need to be at my best and give them the best of the expectations and the best of a race they have never ever witnessed. But these incentives were just not coming from nowhere, they were coming from partners. So the next item I want to talk about is the importance of having the right relational cycles, the right partners, the right people around you. People who not only bring out the best in you, but who can come and stand aside and celebrate with you once you have achieved. Now, in my earlier video, I had mentioned that I have met three kinds of people. I have met distinguishers, relinquishers, and extinguishers. Now, Kipchoge in this situation worked with distinguishers, people who distinguished him and his vision and his targets. People who made sure that everything that was happening around him, from training to diet to media engagement to travels to incentives and motivations to the principle of reward and compensation, was aligned to make sure that he wins under sub 2 hours. Partnership is a currency of victory. From today, please go and do an analysis of your relational cycle to be able to know who is within my cycle, what is their role, what am I getting from them, what are they getting from me, how far have I come with them, what is the value proposition of those relationships and partners that you have. Aside from that, there is what we call the strategy part of it. Now, normally, a traditional marathon will include people running on the road or a particular route. When you want to refill with water, you step aside from the run and then pick your water from water points and then continue. In this situation, we had a strategy. There was a car that had blue lasers, which highlighted the pattern of running. There were people who were in between Kipchoge. There were those who were running 2 ahead of him, there were 3 ahead of him, there were those on the sides, and there were those who were behind him. Why did we have that kind of a formation? In soccer, sometimes we say it's a 3-4-3-1 formation or a 4-4-2. Now, in this particular situation, this guy was shielded. He was shielded from the wind so that the wind does not hit him directly, so that he does not lose any seconds that will eat into the target, which was 1:59. That was number one. The blue lace that was coming from the car was to align him to a particular running pathway so that he does not have to step out of it and lose a second. Every time he needed water, there was someone on the bike who could come near him so that he gets water for drinking. All these are setbacks that can happen to us in life. They are competing odds against our targets. But in these situations, these people identified that if we don't allow him or we don't support him in this particular essence by bringing him water, by breaking the wind so that it doesn't push him back, so that it does not affect the targets that we have set, he will not be able to get to run a sub 2 hours. So what did they end up doing? They ended up taking the burden out of him, distinguished him. Aside from that, he had set pace setters. These pace setters are people who are running for between 10 to 15 minutes at a constant speed. The expectation was once that minute, those minutes are done away with, Dr. Kipchoge will get into a new level of pace setters so that they maintain a certain speed towards a sub 2 hours. Can you imagine how ingenious that was? What does it teach us? It teaches us that in different seasons, we need different inspirators, different mentors, different pace setters who will run with us at a constant speed, putting in mind what we target as the end product of our life. Once a pace setter or a mentor or an inspirator or a handholder has done their job, please stop sticking to them. Step up. The tempo is increasing. Step up because they have done their work, their energy is done. It is the expectation on you that for you, you have to run the whole course. So go with their speed in their season. Once the season is done, get to the next level of mentors and inspirators and pace setters. Aside from that, there is the issue of working through a strategy, as I have mentioned to you. And then there's the issue of the principle of reward and compensation. How was he rewarded? First, As a vision holder, there are people who need to feed on you, either directly or indirectly, advertently or inadvertently. When Kipchoge went to run in Austria, the hotels were booked, all of them. The owners of the hotel just fed on him. Before he even ran the race, the hotels were doing booming businesses, the media had content, marketers were all over, race analysts, and everyone else. All these guys were just feeding on him. As a vision holder, you should be in a position to allow people to feed on you to some extent, based on the ingeniousness of what you're doing with your vision. That is what Kipchoge does. But aside from that, when he won the race, he didn't just leave that place empty-handed. Although there is no official figure as to how much he earned, we expected and we still know that he made some money out of it. So there is always a principle of reward and compensation. Now, to mid-level managers or higher-level managers or vision holders, organization heads, if you want to get the best out of your teams, there is always the need for you to exercise the principle of reward and compensation. People don't require much. People just require maybe employee of the month recognition. People just require maybe a certificate, their picture being on the wall of fame for the organization. People even require just a simple lunch. People even require just being recognized before the rest of the team. People require a book from which they can read and learn something from. The principle of reward and compensation is in itself an incentive. As I almost finish this, there is the aspect of brand credibility. These people, all of them came to Kipchoge and let others. Remember, there has been Bekele, there has been Paul Terregat in this country. There have been a lot of people that have been running marathons. But why did they just come to Kipchoge? It's called brand credibility. Now, brand credibility is an attraction. When you're building a vision, you're not just running towards the podium, but you're also running with credibility. Credibility is achieved by operating on a value system, but practicing those value systems to give you an implication at the end of it. Ineos wanted to associate with him, media houses wanted to associate with him, Isuzu associated with him, and a lot of other brands. Why? Because there is credibility. Because the people who are putting in money, those who are watching the video in the sitting rooms, following on streams, they knew the brand of Dr. Eliud Kipchoge was going to deliver. There was credibility in that brand. Perhaps the question we need to be asking ourselves is, what credibility is in our personal brands that attracts other people to us? Perhaps it's time now to start having an analysis of what is this that is so unique that can make someone somewhere think about you and want to associate with you and put in money and put in capital and put in time to mentor, to train, to coach and to inspire you, and put in time to just have a conversation with you. Is there credibility in your actions, in your behavior, in your practices, in your attitudes at all levels? Can people look at you and tell themselves, this I want to associate with? That's a question we need to ask as institutions, organizations, brands, and individuals. Now, above all, there is what we call the platform. People just need a platform. Kipchoge needed a platform to run, to put his talent to use. He needed platforms in the media to explain himself. Sometimes we know who you are through what you say and what you do. Give people platforms, give them tasks, give them obligations. Step out and see how they do it. Come back and correct it. Have conversations with them that mind the best out of them. Create a platform for people so that they can be able to evolve. If you deny people platforms, they could be having talents in leadership, talents in sports, talents in every sphere of life. But because they don't have a platform, they are not able to self-inspire, to raise up to the platform and exude that which God intended them to have. So a platform is very important in the development of wealth and success stories. Now, having said that, lest I forget that every time Kipchoge is in the media, he always mentions God. So there is a special place for God in him. I know that This video might be watched by Christians, by Muslims, by even pagans. It is not upon me to judge you, but there is that higher being for you to believe in. Believing that the talent you have is God's. Believing that it's God who gives you life and grace and mercy and favor to be able to put your talent to use and achieve something out of it. So that in everything that we do, there is always a special place for God. But after God, if you remember that race so well, after Kipchoge had ran and finished, his wife and kids were at the end of it to embrace him, to celebrate him, to honor him. There is also a very special place for family in the stories of success and victories in the world. Families that embrace their own celebrate actually together. Families that hedge their own from shocks of life, both natural and man-made, are able to make their own, to grow them into victories and into wealth creation. But apart from that, I noticed that after Kipchoge ran the Ineos, it has been difficult for him to win races again. I have seen articles, I've seen posts on social media where people actually name call him and negatively profile him, but he still turns up to run. The question is, why does he run? He runs to safeguard legacy. Kipchoge has won gold medals, dominated courses, tormented his opponents, but right now he still runs. Even without finishing among the top 5, he does still run. He runs to safeguard his legacy. He no longer runs for the medals. He runs for humanity, to inspire young people. He's paid for appearance fee. He's paid for participation fee. Even if he does not earn the gold at the end of it and the prize money, by virtue of appearing, there is a fee to that. By virtue of participating, there is a fee to that. So he's now having what we call a higher and bigger calling, that is beyond over and above accolades, because Eliud has continued running, and he's beaten the records, the monetary value. He's now doing it for humanity, for people to learn from, to cement the legacy, so that in the walk of fame, his name echoes higher and higher. He didn't just wake up and reach the walk of fame. He equally walked the walk of shame. When he had nothing, when he went to school without shoes, when he ran to school, came back home and missed a meal, when he didn't have tracks or uniforms or shoes to train with, that was the walk of shame. But the resilience he has exuded all through that proposition up to now is what has predisposed him to the walk of fame. You cannot take this away from him. As much as his age is catching up with him, if he looks back, he has achieved what he intended to achieve, and he still achieves that. He's now eating into the treasure of a lot of years of hard work, sacrifice, training, friendship, relational cycles, visioning, setting of targets, value credibility, brand credibility, and all those. This is a video, or this is an analysis that can actually help organizations, that can help individuals to have what we call self-conversations and make decisions, shifting decisions, especially where talents are involved. I hope this video gets to Dr. Eliud Kipchoge and I can interview him one-on-one so that he can now put this generic analysis of the Ineos race into actuals or into contextual realities of how he actually does this for the others to come and just learn from him. Thank you so much.